Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Monday, October 3rd, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. If you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at Pickdawgz.com. Of course, I'm always running my $15 MLB best bet, so check it out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Monday, October 3rd. First up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Zack Greinke and Triston McKenzie on the mound for this one. Now, these teams are going to be playing in their 6-game series here at Progressive Field. They started on Friday, and it's going to take the end of the regular season, 6 straight games between the Royals and Guardians in Cleveland. And when you look at Zack Greinke, he's had pretty good numbers against the Guardians this season, and overall, his season numbers at 3.78 ERA, that's exactly what the Royals would want from him. However, most of that success has been at Kauffman Stadium, where he's 4-2 in 66 innings of work with a 1.91 home ERA. However, on the road, 0-7 through 65 innings of work with a 5.68 ERA. Opponent's batting average of .310, 13 home runs allowed on the road compared to only 1 home run allowed in his home starts. So, he is on the road here. I don't love him against this Guardians lineup. Like I said, he's had success against Cleveland, but the Guardians are the type of lineup to do pretty good damage against a pitcher like Greinke, who's more of a pitch-to-contact guy. He doesn't really strike out many batters. So I do expect the Guardians lineup to get to Greinke for a few runs early on. And with how well Triston McKenzie's been on the mound this season, 2.99 ERA, I think the Guardians are the play for me. So I'm going to lay the run line here with Cleveland at home. Next up, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're going to see Mitch Keller going for the Pirates, no official starter for the Cardinals right now. So similar to the Royals and Guardians, these two teams are going to be playing against each other for 6 straight games to end the regular season. However, the first 3 games of this series were at Busch Stadium at home for St. Louis, and now the last 3 games are going to be in Pittsburgh at PNC Park. So the Pirates will be the home team here, and I think the home team has a chance to compete in this one just like they did on Sunday by grabbing the outright win 7-5 against the Cardinals. And I don't know if the Pirates are going to win this game, but when you look at Mitch Keller, it's second half of the season, really strong performances from him, and now his ERA below 4 overall this year, coming off a start against the Reds where he went 5 innings, 1 earned run, and 5 strikeouts. He's keeping his team in ball games. His last 5 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer in all 5 of those games. He's striking out a good amount of batters, not giving up the home run ball, keeping the ball on the ground, and I think he pitches well enough to have the Pirates compete at least through the first 5 innings of this one. So I think there's some value with Pittsburgh through the first 5. We'll have to see who the Cardinals decide to go with on the mound, but give me the Pittsburgh Pirates in the first 5 innings in this game. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Texas Rangers with Martin Perez and Luis Severino on the mound. When you look at the New York Yankees as a team in the last 30 days, they really haven't hit lefties very well. They're 22nd in team OPS, 23rd in isolated power. Now, their walk percentage is pretty good, so they're earning a lot of walks, and we know Aaron Judge has been walked plenty of times in the last couple of weeks or so as he's looking for number 62. But the strikeout percentage still a little bit higher, 24.5%. Now, Martin Perez hasn't been in the best of form, but he is keeping the Rangers competitive. In his last 4 starts, the Rangers have won 3 of those 4 games outright, and that includes 2 wins over playoff teams in the Rays and Blue Jays. So I do think the Rangers can compete in this game at home. The Yankees already clinched the division, already clinched where they're going to be playing in the AL playoffs, as they're going to get the bye in the first round. So, not really a ton to play for here for the Yankees. Not much to play for the Rangers either, but I do think that the Rangers playing some of their younger players, getting a chance to be in the major league level, I think they compete here and at least cover the spread. Yankees are pretty big favorites here on the road. Give me the 1.5 runs with the Texas Rangers with Martin Perez on the bump. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the Miami Marlins. Bryce Elder and Jesus Luzardo on the mound for this game. Now, unlike the New York Yankees, who've already clinched their spot where they're going to be playing in the playoffs, the Braves, they've clinched a spot in the playoffs, but we still are looking for the official winner in the NL East division standings, and this is a big series here for Atlanta, as they're going to be on the road. And Bryce Elder, at the beginning of the season, wasn't a pitcher that I really liked to back very often. But I have to say, his last few starts at the major league level have been pretty good, especially against this Marlins team where he's faced them back on August 14th and then September 3rd. 13 innings combined against the Marlins. He struck out 16 batters. He only gave up 1 earned run, and he hasn't given up a single home run in each of his last 5 starts at the major leagues. And he's pitching pretty well now. Has he faced the toughest of lineups? No, it's the Marlins twice, the Nationals twice, but here he is again facing the Marlins, and I do think he will give the Braves at least 5-6 decent innings. And when you look at how well Atlanta's done against left-handed pitching this year, I got to take the Braves in a big game for them on the road. Give me the Atlanta Braves laying the run line. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Cincinnati Reds with Hayden Wesneski and Hunter Green on the mound. So a pair of young pitchers going at it in this one, and I've been really impressed with Hunter Green in the second half of the season. When you look at his last 5 starts, he's only given up 1 home run, and that's a really big improvement from him, as he was giving up a ton of homers at the beginning of the season. His ERA was above 6 at one point, but now down to 4.66, and he's striking out a ton of batters. He's had double-digit strikeouts in 2 of his last 3. And, you know, on the other side, Hayden Wesneski's also pitched pretty well for Chicago, but I do think there's a little bit more regression in his game than Hunter Green's right now. And the Cincinnati Reds are favored at home, despite not really playing too well in that series at Wrigley Field against the Cubs. So, you know, I think the Hunter Green is good enough here to give the Reds 6 strong innings, and I think the bats will show up here at Great American Ballpark. The Reds have been much better at home than on the road this season. So give me the Cincinnati Reds on the money line at Great American. In our next game, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Baltimore Orioles. We're going to see Dean Kremer and Jose Barrios on the mound for this one. The Baltimore Orioles in 2022 are going to have a winning season. They clinched it on Sunday with their 3-1 victory over the Yankees. And this is the first winning season for the O's since 2016. You know, it's been a couple of 50 and 60 win seasons for the Orioles, and you know, this is a franchise definitely headed in the right direction. Plenty of really highly touted prospects, and prospects that have already delivered to the major league level this season. Guys like Adley Rutschman, who are producing great rates already. So you look at this Orioles franchise, I think they're in good shape in the next few seasons. But you know, Dean Kremer, one of their younger arms, and he's having pretty good success overall, 3.17 ERA. Now, he's not my favorite pitcher to back because he doesn't have a ton of strikeouts, 83 Ks in 119 innings. And his last couple starts, he's been a little bit inconsistent. The home run ball, giving it up in 2 of his last 3 starts, including his last game where he gave up 2 home runs and 3 earned runs in 5 innings of work. But when you look at his numbers at Camden Yards, the Orioles have played really well at Camden Yards all season, but Dean Kremer is a 2.67 ERA through 57 innings of work at Camden Yards, a much lower opponent's batting average, far fewer home runs allowed as well. And I do think, you look at Jose Barrios, he has not pitched well away from home himself, as he's got a 6.75 ERA on the road and 74 innings of work on the road, and 18 home runs allowed, a 313 opponent's batting average. With how well the Orioles have hit righties this season, I got to take the plus money here with the home team in the Orioles. So give me the Baltimore Orioles on the money line. Next up, we see the Washington Nationals taking on the New York Mets. Carlos Carrasco and Corey Abbott are your projected starters for now, but there is no official lineup for this game, so we could see a pitching change. But I think this is a must-win game here for the Mets if they want to win the NL East, and this is a pretty lopsided pitching matchup in my opinion, and obviously a lopsided matchup in terms of these two teams. Nationals the weakest record in the National League. The New York Mets have been one of the better teams in the National League all year, so I do think the Mets have the advantage in almost all facets of the game: the bullpen, the lineup, and the starting pitching matchup. So for those reasons, we're not going to get a great price with the New York Mets, that's for sure. Probably when this line comes out, we can expect the Mets to be about minus 300 or so, but I still think the only play for me is taking the New York Mets on the run line. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Boston Red Sox. No official starter for the Rays right now, but I am seeing Tyler Glasnow listed on a few websites, so he very well could be getting his second start of the season. Rich Hill is listed for the Red Sox in this game, and while he did pitch well at Fenway in his last game against the Orioles, he went 6 innings, 9 strikeouts. I don't really love Rich Hill in this particular spot. He's facing a Rays lineup that, sure, has only had a 158 plate appearance sample size in the last 30 days against lefties, but they've had really good numbers, unlike the Baltimore Orioles, who have had very bad numbers against lefties. The Orioles were ranked 28th in the league in isolated power and 29th in team OPS against lefties in the last month when Rich Hill faced them. Now you're facing a Tampa Bay Rays lineup that has the lowest strikeout rate, 13.9%, and they're number 2 in team OPS against lefties in that stretch. A 10.8% walk percentage is also in the top 5, so this is not going to be an easy spot for Rich Hill, who's got a 5.19 ERA in his 52 innings at Fenway Park this year. So I like the Tampa Bay Rays offense in this game, and if Tyler Glasnow is the starter for Tampa Bay, I think he has a good start himself. He looked pretty good against the Guardians, gave up a run in 3 innings of work, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts, so he was able to miss some bats, and that's not easy. That's not an easy thing to do against those Guardians. So I think Glasnow will be a sharp starter in this game, but even if he's not on the mound, I like the Tampa Bay Rays to win this one. So give me the Tampa Bay Rays on the money line. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Milwaukee Brewers with Tommy Henry and Brandon Woodruff on the mound. Now, even though Tommy Henry hasn't had great numbers in his first few games at the major leagues, and even though the Brewers need this game, this is a must-win game for him, I still don't want to lay the money line or the run line with that kind of price with Milwaukee. With the way they're playing and the way they're struggling against lefties overall this season, even in the last month where their numbers have improved against lefties, they're still not great. Still top 10 highest strikeout rates, below average in isolated power, right around league average in team OPS. And Brandon Woodruff, he has pitched really well for Milwaukee, especially at home this season, where he's, his last start against the Cardinals, 6 innings, no earned runs, and 10 strikeouts. He has been fantastic at home at American Family Field, a 1.98 ERA through 72 and 2/3 innings with 100 strikeouts. One of the best pitchers at home in this entire season. Him and Sandy Alcantara love pitching at home, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I do think the Brewers win in the end, but I think the better play is on the under. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Houston Astros. No official lineup for this one, but right now we see Aaron Nola and Lance McCullers Jr. as the projected starters, and another must-win game here for Philadelphia in this spot. And I actually do think they have the advantage in the starting pitching matchup, even though McCullers has the lower ERA, a lot less of a sample size for him, as he's only pitched 41 innings this season, and his strikeout numbers have certainly been there, but the control issues are also there. He's given up a couple home runs this last few starts. The walks are also piling up for him, 21 walks in 41 innings. Not what you really want to see from a starter. And the Phillies have done a really good job against right-handed pitching, really in the last 2 months or so, but in particular the last 30 days, they're number 4 in isolated power, and they're in the top 10, number 6 in team OPS against those righties. So I give the edge to the Phillies in this game with Nola on the mound. Give me the Philadelphia Phillies on the road on the money line. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Chicago White Sox with Bailey Ober and Johnny Cueto on the mound. Now, I got to be honest, these are two teams that I really don't want to back in this spot, even though I got my Twins jersey on. These are two teams that had really disappointing years. They're going to finish below 500, or at least the Minnesota Twins have already clinched that. With the White Sox would need to sweep this series to have an above 500 year, but Bailey Ober's been super inconsistent. I mean, his last start against these White Sox, incredible. 7 1/3 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts. But the start before that, he really struggled against the Royals. That was 5 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs in a 5-2 Twins loss. And the start previous to that one, he was fantastic against the Guardians. So really tough to read Bailey Ober right now. With him having success against this same White Sox lineup, it's tough not to take that plus money. When you look at Johnny Cueto, he's been inconsistent himself. So, against the Minnesota Twins, his last outing, he went 5 2/3 innings, 10 base hits, 6 earned runs. Now, he did have 7 strikeouts, but that was an 8-4 White Sox loss. And the last 4 starts that Cueto has had, the White Sox have lost all 4 of those games. So, this is a game that I'm staying away from. It's kind of interesting to see that the White Sox are actually favored in this one, despite these pitchers having those results against the opposition. But I'm going to take the plus money and in a lean here with the Minnesota Twins getting the plus 105 on the money line. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Oakland Athletics with Patrick Sandoval and Adrian Martinez on the mound. Now, the Los Angeles Angels, they're not going to be making the playoffs. They're not going to have a winning season, but they are entering the final series of the year on a 7-game win streak. They're covering plenty of run lines. Their pitching staff has done a really good job, especially their bullpen, and their offense is showing up. Mike Trout having a really good end of the season. Shohei Ohtani is going to be an MVP candidate. So the Angels, it's nice to see, even though this team has been disappointing and frustrating to watch for many, it's nice to see them at least give their some effort, in the last couple series, win some ball games. And even though there's not really much to play for, they are playing pretty good ball. And, I like them in this spot laying the run line. Patrick Sandoval, left-handed pitcher, the Oakland A's, not really hitting lefties very well in the last month or so. So, I don't really love their chances. 26th in the league in isolated power, 28th in team OPS. So I'm going to have to back the Angels in this game. Martinez is struggling, a 6.08 ERA. Give me the Angels on the run line. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Seattle Mariners. Brian Garcia and George Kirby are your starters, and the money line says it all. Right, the Mariners minus 260 in this game. I do think this is a mismatch in basically all facets of the game, including the pitching matchup, with George Kirby having a really good second half of the year. Overall, a 3.21 ERA, and he has a nice bounce-back start in his last game on September 28th. 6 innings, 1 earned run against the Rangers. That was a 3-1 Mariners win, and of course a run line cover. And the Mariners have covered the run line in 4 of the last 5 starts for George Kirby, so that's exactly what you want to see if you want to lay the run line here. Brian Garcia, not too many innings for him at the major leagues this season, but I do think there's some regression concerns for him. Even though he's got that 3.29 ERA, he's already given up 3 home runs in his limited work this season. I like the Mariners in this one, laying the run line at home. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres hosting the San Francisco Giants with John Brebbia, the opener for the Giants, as they look to go for a bullpen game, and Joe Musgrove going on the other side. Joe Musgrove's last 3 starts, he went 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, no earned against the Diamondbacks, 5 innings, 1 earned, 4 strikeouts against the Cardinals, and then 5 innings, no earned, 8 strikeouts against the Dodgers. He's in really good form, missing bats, pitching a good amount of innings, and not giving up many runs, and that's exactly what you want to see going into the postseason as the Padres have clinched their spot into the 2022 playoffs. And John Brebbia, the Giants, not going to be making the playoffs this year after having the best record in baseball last year, so definitely a disappointing season for San Francisco. I don't love the Giants bullpen, and John Brebbia has also had his struggles. His last outing, he didn't even get through it. He didn't record a single out. He gave up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, and a homer. So I can't trust him in this game. Give me the San Diego Padres on the run line. And in our final game of the night, we see the Colorado Rockies and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Jose Urena and Tony Gonsolin are the starters. I got to admit, even though I don't back Jose Urena very often, he's actually been in pretty good form lately. His last 4 starts, 2 earned runs or fewer in all 4 of those games. He's missing some bats. He's only given up 1 home run. And, he's been able to keep the Rockies in games. And 2 of those starts were on the road. 2 of those starts were at home. So even at Coors Field, he's been pretty good. But this one, he's on the road here. And we saw the Rockies win the game outright on Sunday against the Dodgers, 4-1. And they don't even have to win the game here, in my opinion, for us to cash with Colorado. You look at the Dodgers on the money line, minus 360, minus 350 at spots. That's just a crazy number for a team that, yes, Tony Gonsolin's on the mound. He's been incredible this year, 2.10 ERA, but he hasn't pitched in over a month. August 23rd was his last start. Although he's pitching well, we can't really expect him to go too deep into this game. Right before the playoffs, I would say maybe 4 to 5 innings. They don't want to stretch him in this one. So even though the Dodgers bullpen has also been good, I just don't think we can lay this kind of price with a team that's starting pitcher is a little bit questionable in this one. His first start back from an injury. So I'm going to take the Colorado Rockies, not plus 1.5, but I'm going to take them plus 2.5 because we can take those 2.5 runs and still be getting a pretty good number with Colorado overall. They haven't been good on the road. Jose Urena has been inconsistent. You look at that ERA, 5.24, but I still think that they're good enough to keep this game close enough. We saw it on Sunday. I think we see it on Monday. Give me the Colorado Rockies plus 2.5 runs to end the night. And that's it. Those are the games for Monday, October 3rd. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.